为了应对不断增长的粮食需求，全球企业家们都在努力探索创新解决方案，这其中就有创业家 Nick Hazell 的身影。他选择了人造植物肉这个赛道，在短短2年半的时间里 ，Nick 带领澳洲的植物肉公司迅速成长，实现了5亿澳元的市值。这背后的成功秘诀究竟是什么呢？
I think in startups and business, you have to be at the right place at the right time with the right knowledge and the right idea.
Nick 也看好澳洲企业在中国市场的未来发展。
We believe, that there is a great opportunity for us to partner with Chinese, and I think that's good business. But I think that's nothing to do with politics. That's just to do with making sure that everyone's doing the right thing.
作为高龄创业者，年近60的 Nick 有哪些独特的心得和感悟？而在后疫情时代，他又有哪些建议想要与年轻创业者们分享呢？今天的采访谈10分，我们就来认识这位澳洲最大的植物肉公司 B2 Food 创始人兼首席执行官 Nick Hazell。
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our interview. I'm Ivy. Joining me today is Nick Hazell, founder and CEO at B2 Food. Nick, welcome and very nice to have you here today.
Oh, it's great to talk to you all.
Firstly, congratulations on the current Series B Plus funding round worth 72 million. Yeah, and I know you do have multiple identities. You were a lecturer, coordinator, and even worked in Mars Food for 4 years. But now you are a plant-based meat starter, and I'm really curious about how did you start your own business and where did you get the idea?
When I started V2, it was about nearly 3 years ago. I was actually asked by venture capital and the CSIRO. CSIRO is Australia's science and research agency. If there was something that we could do in the plant-based meat space. So it wasn't my idea to do plant-based meat. It was to create a company that would leverage technology coming out of CSIRO and work with the CSIRO scientists to develop plant-based meat. And that was in January 2019. We started the company and the date of the start is the 17th of January. And the reason I always remember it is because that's the day that the Eat Lancet report was published. And that was the first sort of report that brought together human nutrition. What does the world need to eat? With how does the planet support the food that we want to eat? And that's really important because B2 Food is all about how do we supply the world with the food that people like to eat. And that's an important part because people love to eat meat. We are genetically programmed to want to eat meat. So it's not good enough for the environmentalists and the nutritionists to say, you just need to eat this and then it'll all be fine. Because that means you're only going to be eating 10 grams of meat per day. That's really small. There's not many recipes that say 10 grams of meat. So we have to find a solution that's sustainable, that allows people to eat the amount of meat they want to eat. It's just that the meat has to come from plants because we cannot grow 10 billion people's worth of meat eating 50 to 100 kilos of meat per year, which is what people want to eat. You can't do it. We run out of planet.
Yeah, definitely. As you said, the sustainable development is quite important in today's society. And let's go back to the latest capital raising, because we all know that is for expanding to China and Europe. And I still remember in our last pre-interview, you said you just began to start the Chinese market. So how's the overseas market now, especially Chinese market?
Export is now, we're growing really well in Australia, but export is now bigger than Australia. So, and obviously export is going to be way, way, way bigger than Australia. There's only 25 million people in Australia and a couple of billion or 3 billion available on our doorstep. And it's going well. I mean, we formed a Chinese company 5 months ago, and they have been showing product at lots of fairs with lots of major customers. We're about to announce some of our launches in China, but we're gaining distribution, and there's going to be some really big announcements in the next couple of weeks, I think. You'll be seeing our products widely distributed. Important thing about China is, of course, we do burgers. Look, we do the Rebel Whopper for Burger King in Philippines and Japan and New Zealand and Korea, and Burger King is important, but actually in China, there's not a lot of burgers being eaten. What we need to do for China is things like the pork that goes into the dumplings and the meat that goes into the steam buns, because that's really where the volume of meat is being consumed. So those are the partnerships that we're going after, and we are being received very well because our product tastes fantastic, and it's actually affordable. Our whole premise and our hypothesis is that people do love meat, but they don't want to pay any more for it. In fact, the reason why people in general in the world don't eat as much meat as they want to eat is because they don't have enough money. And then as soon as they get richer, like in China, meat consumption has gone from 10 kilos per person per year to about 60 is where it is now. And that's taken 30 years to get there. It's a big volume opportunity. And we're making good progress.
Yeah, actually, the Chinese consumers are no strangers to the concept of plant-based meat, because we already have like traditional soil products such as vegan roasted goose and steamed bean rolls. But I know it sounds a little bit weird in English, yeah. But as you said, China is the world's largest meat consumer, but the Chinese always care a lot about the real taste. So do you encounter like any challenge when entering the Chinese market?
Yeah, I mean, there's a great tradition of sort of mock meats in China, but I guess, and that's a very old tradition. What we're now doing, we have the science and technology to really deliver the true meat flavor. And that's really because we understand we have the chemistry, and the scientists in CSIRO have been studying meat for decades. For the meat industry, how to improve the quality of the meat. And Australia has a really good reputation for the best quality meats in the world. We're using that science to make sure that our plant-based meat really does taste the same as meat. And in fact, the pork that we're launching in China, we've developed with Chinese chefs, and we've been looking at what's the style of pork that China loves. And it is a little bit different. In some ways you say, well, a pig is a pig. It's the same in China as in the US, but actually there are subtle differences in terms of how pigs are slaughtered, etc., which means that China has a slightly different flavor profile than in the US or Europe. So we've designed our product to work in Chinese executions, Chinese cuisine, dumplings and steamed buns, and using the chemistry and the science of CSIRO to really deliver meat flavor. And that's kind of what's never been the monks, I guess, in China and the original sort of mock meats didn't have the science and technology that we have. So we can do a lot better job at making stuff really taste like meat.
Okay, yeah, as you said, the culture gap and eating habits may be quite different from Western countries. So is that, as you said, is that kind of like specific business strategies for the Chinese market? And you just said localize the food. Is there any like specific business strategies?
The other important thing for China is to really understand the consumer. We've spent 5 months studying the consumer, understanding what the differences are, and making sure that V2 is a locally relevant brand. Yeah. So my Chinese isn't good enough to tell you how we're pronounced in Chinese and our branding, but we have a Chinese brand. The V2 logo is there, but we mean we're relevant to the Chinese audience, and I think that's important in every country we go to. We're not an American brand saying you should eat burgers. No, we're a locally relevant brand to say you can eat the food you love, but it's not going to destroy the planet and it's going to be good for you. And that's a really important part. And in China, being good for you, good for your body, healthy, is probably even more important at the moment with consumers than good for the planet. So we really do need to make sure we deliver on the nutritional promise as well.
Yeah, definitely. And we all know the trade tensions between Australia and China continue to rise. Are this also maybe a concern for you? Is there any impact on your business in China?
I get a lot of questions about it in interviews, but look, the fundamentals of what are we doing, what is the problem in the world, are recognized by everybody. And the China government recognizes that food supply and feeding a large population with animal meat is not feasible in the future. There is not. It's impossible to do it. And so China is always very sensible when it comes to making long-term strategic decisions. And we believe, that there is a great opportunity for us to partner with Chinese companies, manufacture in China, and be part of the solution for China. And I think that's good business, but I think that's nothing to do with politics. That's just to do with making sure that everyone's doing the right thing. So far, not a problem. We have to do this anyway. It's too important. China is the biggest meat consumption in the world. It's growing rapidly. We have to do this, and yes, there may be some risks and a few bumps along the way, but so far so good. And yeah, it's a small, currently quite a small category. It's growing fast, but I don't think it should attract the attention in a bad way from the politicians.
Yeah, I bet you now must be really busy at work, and even now you're in Europe. So how do you achieve a work-life balance? Because I feel like a lot of people, including me, are very struggling about this issue.
It's a really good question. I mean, I had a question last night with my wife, who was with me in Europe, and obviously I'm stranded in Europe at the moment, and balance is really strange because I'm having to get up at 5 a.m. And so the question my wife asked me is when am I going to take time out to do exercise and to look after myself as well? And I think that's probably one of the answer is make sure that the people around you remind you that there is whilst what we're doing we think is really important.
Yeah.
We're not going to be successful unless we look after ourselves. And in our company, we're all on Zoom at the moment. There's a lockdown in Australia, so we're talking regularly, daily on Zooms, and we're talking about how are we doing, what are we doing to look after ourselves, giving ourselves permission to take time out, because you know it as well. Everyone on the call knows it. On Zoom, you can lose your whole day, and you're still on Zoom or you're still on socials. You never turn off. So it means we actually have to have more discipline and control to make sure that we turn ourselves off and reset. And I've actually just come back from a week's holiday, and it's reminded me how tired I was. We need breaks and we need holiday and we need the discipline to look after ourselves, and certainly the companies that we are part of have to give people permission and tell them your job is number one, look after yourself, and if you look after yourself, you can then look after business and look after the company. So but it's a problem. I think it's a bigger problem today than it's ever been.
Yeah, even though maybe you're busy with work, but you definitely should spend some time with a company or friends or your family. I think it's really important. Yeah. Last question: is there any advice for younger entrepreneurs or starters, especially those who want to start their own business in the post-pandemic era?
I taught entrepreneurship to young students as well, and it's always the question: what's the advice? I mean, and I started as an entrepreneur late. I spent most of my career in big companies learning about food, learning about business. I'm a very strange startup entrepreneur. Normally you're in your 20s when you start up businesses. So it's a good advice is to build a capability and a knowledge of something that gives you something special. Because if all you have is an idea, but you don't have the means, the networks, the knowledge to execute, then you have to be very, very lucky to succeed. So there's no harm in actually building some knowledge. The other thing is timing. And this is very easy with hindsight, but who knows which idea is going to be big. So have lots of ideas and explore lots of things in parallel until you find the thing where you say, that's something that's going to work. That's going to be really useful to the world. People really want this thing. But if you only have one idea, then that's the one you're going to do. And it may be the wrong idea. If you've got 100 ideas, then you've got a better chance that you will find one that is going to really resonate. The timing's going to be right, and you can get lucky. So improving your chances it means there is a lot of luck involved, I think, in startups and business. You have to be at the right place at the right time with the right knowledge and the right idea.
Yeah, right time, right place, right person, and right knowledge. Yeah, this is quite important for people if you want to start a company. Yeah, Nick, thanks for your time with the interview today. And actually, I really learned a lot from our conversation, and I bet our audience can also benefit a lot. Yeah, for more information about our program, you're welcome to visit our Chinese WeChat official account of InAU and subscribe our YouTube channel on Taiwan. Thank you for watching. We will see you next time. Bye bye. Thank you, Nick.